We are live. It is Thursday morning once again, and it's time for the Going Broadway podcast. Alex and Cole with you as always. Cole, what's happening?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the greatest wrestling podcast ever. And yes, we do have plenty to talk about. I am looking in the chat, and it seems like you guys are ready to chat about all, and I mean all, that has happened in wrestling since the last time we spoke.
Especially within the last 24 hours.
Would like to give a quick shout out to those of you who joined us during our Warrior Wrestling Fan Fest podcast episode that we had. And there was some really cool conversations came out. We'll be recapping that a little bit later in the show, but I think there's some things we need to talk about first.
Just a few. Before we get too far, let's just see who we got in the chat this morning. David Tilley, of course. There wouldn't be a podcast without you, bud. Thomas Russell, Billy Ray Milburn, Jeremy, Greg, whoever this Cole character is.
Never heard of him.
Jeffrey Capo, the sports entertainer whose name I already mentioned, Joe Howard. Blanket good morning to everybody. And I'm going to actually start off the show a little bit different this morning. I'm going to steal Bruce Pritchard's gimmick.
Oh, that almost sounded like it was going to go on your laptop. Like there was a lot there. All right, y'all.
I wasn't expecting that. But note to self, if you guys get one of these Starbucks cold brew things, by the way, we're not sponsored by Starbucks. That would be insane.
Great value, cold brew, non-generic.
If you get any canned cold brew coffee beverage, it says shake gently. Maybe I shook it not gently enough. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but I shook it. I let it sit for a while. Nonetheless, we're clean though. Everything's good here. All right. The elephant in the room. Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Or just Max Friedman.
Yeah,
as he said
according.
Last
All I have to say is wow. This is one of those promos that, I mean, yes, it's akin to, Punk's pipe bomb promo as well as other, shoot promos that have taken place in the past. This had, I'll say it had a little more than something extra. This was brilliantly done, whether it was a work or shoot or combination of both. It couldn't have been presented any better than it was. And I actually posted on our GBP Twitter page. I basically said, okay, you need to pay this man, because if he walks to WWE, that would be the absolute worst mistake you could ever make. I mean, just handing, back up the Brinks truck to MJF if you have to. Your thoughts?
That was not a pipe bomb last night. That was an atomic, could take out a whole nation type bomb last night.
I was going to say, that wasn't even that wasn't just one nuke. That was like an entire country's arsenal of nukes. That was...
Every sentence he said was a pipe bomb. It was just super intense. Anybody who tells me that the Punk pipe bomb was better than that, you are wrong. I am sorry. Just because Punk did it first doesn't mean that it was better. Last night was the first time in a long time that I have seen someone get on the mic and convince me that this is real, that there is truth that is being said here. He blasted literally everybody, including those fans who are kind of annoying when it comes to this stuff. And
this wasn't just a promo against Tony Khan. This was, a
promo against the state of wrestling.
Well, yeah, he definitely hinted at, the VPs, the all friends wrestling, or however he phrased it. Let's talk about this though. Work, shoot, or both?
If you would have asked me on Friday night, Saturday, if this was a work or a shoot, I would have literally said that this is real. Like, hey, this This seems like, there are actual issues backstage. I mean, when rumors start coming out that Goldberg is available and it's going to cost a lot of money to get him to fill MJF's place, that it had some people convinced that he really wasn't going to show. When I watched the match, and we'll recap, obviously, Double or Nothing later, but when I watched the match, it almost felt like a burial, and I was like, man, maybe there really is something wrong here. And then when I read a thing, Tony Khan during the interview at the end of the show with CM Punk, and he's like, I'm not going to speak on that. They had me convinced Saturday that it was real. Like, there were some real issues. I read a rumor that said that MJF was going to take some time off and all this stuff. And the next thing you know, I see that he's promoted. He's not just going to be at the show, but he's promoted to speak. And I'm like, now I'm starting to feel like it's a work. Now I'm starting to feel like maybe all of this, because they do, AEW, I will say this, they do like to try to keep the realness alive in some aspects as far as their stories go. A few months ago, MJF did an interview where he talked about whoever pays me the most money is where I'm going to go, and kind of was already working that angle in a sense. And I thought the person that was giving the interview was very interesting because it wasn't just some Joe Schmo. It wasn't done on a Jericho podcast. It was done on a podcast that gets a lot of viewership and is known to kind of play into the kayfabe sometimes intentionally. So when he was kind of doing that, so I was like, now I'm starting to look back and I'm like, maybe this has always been the build to kind of get MJF even more over before his 2024 contract is up, so they can re-sign him early, so they can pay him his money. All of that, they're playing into it basically in the sense. So now I'm starting to feel maybe real life problem at first that has now been worked into more of a work is how it feels for me.
I think most of us are going to agree to some extent that it's a combination of both, but it's a matter of how much of it is a work, how much of it is a shoot. Do you think it's 50-50? Do you think one is? Do you think it's one over the other? I think we have too small of a sample size to really know. But here, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes the route of we see MJF on TV weekly, but it continues to play into the storyline of MJF like purposely doing things to try to get himself fired. Now, here's my next question, not only to you, but to you guys that are watching. As you were watching it live, the F-bomb that he dropped at the end, was it edited out on your end?
Yep.
Okay. It was for me also. The reason I bring that up is because there are videos on YouTube that are it's the uncensored version of the promo, which basically the only difference is the F-bomb wasn't bleeped out or silenced or whatever. They had to have gotten a hold of that somehow, is my thing. So if it's live TV, it could be one of a number of things. A, it could just be on a 5-second time delay, which still technically is live TV.
Not edited out on Fight TV.
Okay. So they had to have gotten it somewhere. So they had to have some kind of a delay if they knew ahead of time that he was going to say it. No, I'm sorry, I said that backwards. They had to have some kind of delay if they didn't know he was going to say it. Or if they did know he was going to say it, like they had to have known, okay, you can script it in the sense that, okay, I'm going to save this MJF talking to the guys. I'm going to save this until the end.
Right.
So you know exactly when to bleep it out or silence the microphone, whatever. They had to have known the exact point if it's not on a time delay. Even if it's a 5-second time delay, that's enough time to catch it. I don't know. I genuinely feel like that it is going to feel more of a work as weeks go on, especially if they're going to go the route of just, as a weekly storyline, MJF trying to get himself fired. I was gonna say something I totally blanked.
So my only thing with this entire storyline is that if he's gonna do this storyline now where he's trying to get himself fired, I feel like you start to de-escalate him in that though. You start to like he's on this rise right now, you know, and everything that he said last night, not a single thing he said last night was false. I mean, everything he said was truth. He probably truly is the second biggest minute for minute to draw, probably behind CM Punk, if I had to guess.
Well, and I meant to look that up whenever he said that, I actually meant to look that up to see if I could find the statistic, and I didn't.
I believe that to be 100% true. I think that there's truth that him and Tony Khan have had the conversations of, you know, do this and do that, and then you'll get paid, and it never happens, and you know, just all this stuff. I believe that there are people in the back room that are maybe anti-MJF because they want his spot, or, you know, he can get away with certain stuff. He did say something also very interesting. He said, I make you feel something without having to do half of the BS that these other guys have to do to get you there. And I thought that was interesting because there is a lot of truth to that, is that he doesn't have to wrestle. He's not chasing 5-star matches. He's not chasing, like, he legitimately was completely honest last night, and I felt like he nailed it on the head. And when he went after the ex-WWE people, I was like, ooh, this is going to rub people wrong, maybe even in the back room, because all of those people, they may not consider themselves an ex-WWE person because a lot of them, WWE wasn't their first home anyways. It was second, third, fourth home for them in their wrestling career. So even though they had a stint there, it doesn't mean that that's where they felt like they got their you know, platform or whatever from. Right. And so, but he had made some extreme mentions last night, and I was just like, wow. I mean, like every single part of it, I can see where he's coming from, and it really showed me he actually does really have his finger on the pulse of where wrestling's at right now. You know, talking about the marks and the people who think that they know what they're talking about in the crowd, and, you know, trying to everybody wants him to chase 5-star matches or this, that, and the other. And I was like, man, he nailed it on the head last night. And I think the storyline of him trying to get himself fired kind of de-escalates that. I feel like it starts to trend him down when he should be trending up even more to get ready for a world title feud. Revisiting the CM Punk stuff, because, you know, he would have to win it off of Punk to do that. I think that would be the smart thing to do. And trying to get him fired makes me think they're going to do something probably over this next month and a half, have him actually get fired and go sit at home off of television, and then they'll rehire him with a way better contract. So is the storyline.
So by the way, if what I'm reading is correct, as far as like the minute by minute draw, is actually Jericho,
the number one.
If you go back to whenever Dynamite first started, which, I mean, makes sense because...
And then it's MJF?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, if what MJF said is true, I just looked up the...
Overall
number one, and from what I saw, it is Jericho. But that's a running average, too. Here's what I was getting at earlier. I think... So I agree with you. If this is going to be a storyline, I mean... They set the bar really high if this is going to be an entertaining storyline from week to week, and it doesn't tend to do this, like you said. I think they have the tools to do it. I think that, like, week by week, they just need to do something like something that's more jaw-dropping, shocking, whatever. Kind of like, you know, back in the NWO days, like week by week, they did stuff that was, you know, more... you know, out of the ordinary that you never saw in wrestling that wanted you to come back week to week.
Right.
I could easily see this being that if they do it right. I just feel like lately the the trend, I guess, of AEW lately as it relates to, okay, this storyline could be, you know, they could really do something with this. They could be big. Not really panned out very well.
Right.
I mean, case in point, the long-term storytelling with Hangman and Kenny, Hangman winning the belt, but then the title reign sucked,
right.
in my opinion. So the other thing I was going to allude to earlier, the thing I couldn't remember was if you guys notice, he kind of took not a lot, but he took a number of different quirks or quips or whatever from CM Punk's promo, as far as him saying, I got the time, and, just a couple other things that he said that took from that. And not that he shouldn't take from that. I'm not faulting him. I'm just saying that kind of feeds into another reason why I think at least some of this is a work.
Right.
Now, was it planned that way from the beginning? I could see it being that way, but if it is, like if this has been a work from the beginning, then bravo to everybody involved. Everybody from AEW getting the dirt sheets involved with saying, MJF booked a flight out of Vegas prior to Double or Nothing, getting them to run with that story. Even going back further than that to get the dirt sheets to pick up on the heat between MJF and Tony, and getting dirt sheets involved in your wrestling storylines. And if it's been a work, excellent job. Please keep it up. But at the same time, don't screw it up if this is going to be a weekly storyline. If it's not a storyline, I also wouldn't be surprised, because did you notice when they came back from the break, there was nothing that was mentioned as far as the promo, apologizing for language. It just nothing.
So this again, first off, I'm not giving any of the credit to AEW. All of the credit goes to MJF. I wouldn't have been shocked if MJF was the one that let it leak that he bought a ticket out. I wouldn't have been shocked if MJF was the one that let it leak. He is the guy that is all cool with staying in character all the time. He that's the part of the business that I think that he actually gets enjoyment out of,
and the part of the business that's missing.
And so, like, I think that all this stuff has been MJF creating a work. He has done that on multiple occasions, where he has kept to the storyline strictly in and off, on and off of camera. I wouldn't be shocked he let any of that leak. I don't think that you could tell me that this is not a planned thing when you start promoting him on your card for the night as he's going to come out and speak. That's where you lose me.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't have announced him ahead of time as he's going to speak and he would have just shown up and talked, that would have got me more to believe, oh, maybe this really is a work. Maybe this, or more of a shoot. Maybe this really is like unscripted, unfiltered. They have no idea what he's about to do. Like, you would have me kind of more sold that it's more of a developing thing off the fly versus a work.
I think what would have made it feel bigger, like kind of like you said, have him come out, don't announce it ahead of time, but like have your opening match be, insert two guys that, I actually think they're having a match this upcoming or tomorrow on Rampage. I think it's Dante Martin against Scorpio Sky for the TNT Championship. Have a match open with that.
Our paper's not flying over it enough.
Open up with a match like that. It would be a decent opener on paper, but it's also not like you're not like wasting. I hate that using that word. You're not wasting talent.
Right.
But open with that, but then like a minute or two in the match, just have MJF just stroll out, just unannounced, just saying, I'm taking the microphone, you guys go to the back or whatever. And then off you go with, the promo. But, and I don't know how you would do this, but exactly how they did it. Go to a break, but then come back and he's still in the ring.
Right.
Because when you come back from the break, you expected the segment to be over, but he come back, he's still in the ring, and have it be like in the middle of a rant, just he's still going. As far as how you end it from there, I don't really know, but factoring all of that in, like how I just kind of presented it, that's maybe the route I would have gone. Just because, it would have felt more real. Coming back from a break, you're going into yet another another segment or whatever, how the program's broken up. By this point, like, people are telling their friends about, you guys got to tune into Dynamite. You got to do it now.
Right.
That would still get your viewership that you got by announcing it if you had announced it, if that makes sense.
And I don't know if they really gained viewership by announcing it. I think people would have watched either way, curious if he was going to show up, if he was going to talk. Like, if you're invested in the storyline already, you're going to watch. And so, I don't know. The whole thing for me seems almost too planned now with the way things have kind of transpired time and time after again. Like, I believe that maybe off jump there might have been a legit conversation at one point in time between them that didn't go MJF's way. Like him saying, I deserve this X amount of money. I deserve to be paid more. And that might have happened a year ago when he hasn't, he has already done a lot, but he hadn't really hit the point that he's hit now, especially with the Wardlow stuff and, all that. So now I'm kind of like, okay, maybe that there was a real conversation, but now they've since worked it out. There is a plan, whatever. But if there is any truth to this whatsoever, and he really is considering, switching companies and going to WWE, I'm telling you right now, he is about to blow up and become probably one of the biggest stars in this generation of wrestling that we've seen.
Okay, so this is off topic. I know we were talking about this before we went live. Sorry, this is like huge tangent here. And they might have announced this on Dynamite last night. Just disclaimer, I did not watch all of Dynamite. I didn't even watch all of Double or Nothing. Just throwing that out there. AEW Battle of the Belts 3 has a location now. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Why is Grand Rapids getting all the good wrestling? Warrior Wrestling 23 is going to be there actually in a few weeks. And I was just talking to Cole. It's like, that card's even better than the one we went to this past weekend. And, we'll get to Warrior Wrestling 22 shortly. But, man, City of Grand Rapids is getting some marquee
good
wrestling.
Old wrestling.
I'll tell you what, it's already about 25 after. Let's just go ahead and jump to the Double or Nothing recap. This is going to be a very recap and predictions heavy podcast this morning. So that also means it's going to be very interactive with you guys. So you can give us your takes, your predictions as well. But again, as far as Double or Nothing, I have not had a chance to watch all of it. I have watched some, but I'm only going to give my input on what I've watched. If I've not watched it, I'm going to defer to you. Pre-show, Hookhausen defeats Tony Nese and Mark Sterling. Did not watch it, but I heard it was pretty much what you'd expect it to be.
I actually didn't watch the buy-in. Honestly, that did not spark my interest, if you will.
Jeremy, do tell. I have not seen that commercial. Because they're going to be in St. Louis in like 2 weeks, but that's probably what you're referring to. I'm not going to get to go to that, but
neither do I.
That's all right.
They're always on Wednesdays. I can't do Wednesdays.
They need to make up for it. Do a pay-per-view here. They're supposed to have Full Gear.
That's right.
Last year, and then we got sucky Rampage as
Let's give us like Battle of the Belts or something. Like,
yeah.
Why does Grand Rapids get it?
Yeah.
Apologies
to any of our viewers or listeners that live in Grand Rapids. I'm happy for you, but I'm also jealous.
I'm not happy for you at all. And give me a live mic. I'll go cut a shoot right now.
Uh-oh. You have a mic.
Oh. Never mind.
What are you looking at?
I don't know. Myself, you, me.
Opening match of the card. Wardlow defeats MJF after the Powerbomb Symphony. I watched it. I mean, it was
a powerbomb burial, though. Like the match was longer because MJF avoided him for the first 5 minutes of the match, and then it was literally like a Brock Lesnar match. It was just powerbomb him 700 times and then pin him. I felt like it was like the F5 for Brock Lesnar. It was just like let's see him powerbomb him like 7 times, and then the match is over. Again, I feel like that was a bad booking. I know that the MJF had put Wardlow through all this junk to get the match, and you want Wardlow to be free. I'm okay with Wardlow winning the match, but make MJF look believable in the match. That's what I'm saying. That right there was the problem I had, is that the burial of MJF in that match was pathetic. I felt like if people were happy with that match, especially live, you bought a ticket. That was one of the better storylines that were prepared for that pay-per-view, and the match sucked. I'm sorry. That's a terrible match to have between those two after the storyline that they built.
I actually didn't mind the match. I'm sure they probably had to rewrite it, and they purposely did a burial given the stuff that was going on with MJF. I was okay with it. Now, a lot of the reason was because the crowd was so into it, like they wanted to see MJF get killed, essentially. So that helped it. But I do wonder what it would have been had, the stuff going on with MJF and AEW backstage, had that not been happening. Still think Wardlow would have gotten the win. I don't know. We may never know.
Again, I'm not opposed to the Wardlow win. I think the Wardlow win needed to happen so he could be freed and move on. But I did not care for the burial aspect of it. At least let MJF get some kind of offense in. That's what I'm saying. If for instance, MJF now gets pushed and eventually becomes the world champion, as soon as Wardlow challenges him, it's almost like you might as well just give Wardlow the belt at that point, because you made MJF look so weak in that match.
Agreed. I'm trying to look up the this Road Rager episode that Jeremy brought up. So yeah, I guess it is the June 15th episode. Even though, okay, so was this promoted on TV last night? Because the graphics I'm seeing have it as July 15th. It says Wednesday, July 15th, even though July 15th is a Friday. It's got to be the one that's on the 15th, because that's what's been advertised.
Right.
Nonetheless. All right. The Hardys defeat the Bucks. 19-minute match. I did watch it, and it was what I expected. I didn't set the bar high, just because I know the Hardys are, getting up there in age. They can't do everything that they used to be able to do, or if they do, they're going to hurt for days. Hence the reason that Jeff Hardy wasn't even in the match last night, as initially he was supposed to be. And
he looked rough in the match at Double or Nothing because of the match he had with Darby the week prior.
Yeah. Wasn't a bad match. I mean, but it wasn't great.
19 minutes was way too long.
Yeah, I thought this could have been a 10, 12-minute match. And
at most.
But, we both predicted the Hardys. I think we agree that they're trying to eventually put the AEW tag belts on the Hardys just because.
To end their legacy. I think if you they both came to you to help put your product over. If you're going to do it for Punk, do it for the Hardys too. Allow the Hardys to end their legacy by saying we held every major world title, world tag titles that there were. You can't do that without giving them the AEW titles.
Sports Entertainer, I disagree.
On what?
Hardys might be older, but still better than the Bucks.
Better?
In ring, no.
Not in the ring. You would be blind if you were to tell me that the Hardys look better in the ring.
And that's coming from Cole, you guys. This is somebody that grew up on the Hardys, and
Hardys are my guys. Are they more of a draw and more entertaining as far as like the other aspects of wrestling? 100%. I feel like the Bucks have always forced a lot of things, but their wrestling is what makes them.
Lately, I feel like the Bucks have been kind of cringe as it relates to not only their promos, but even their being the elite show.
I've always felt like there's a cringe to them. I think what helped them was aligning themselves with other people that weren't such cringe. It kind of made them scale back. But when they're on their own, a lot of their promos and a lot of their like vignettes and stuff are just like, ugh.
And it's not like pardon the term, it's not like a douchey kind of thing,
right,
where it's like go away heat or anything. It's just cringy. Like, it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Right.
Like, it makes you almost feel bad for them. It's like, guys, like, stop. Anyway, the next match I did not watch. You can give me your thoughts. Jade Cargill defeats Anna Jay, wins the TBS championship, 7 minutes and 25 seconds.
The best part about this match is what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
Again, nobody in their right mind thought that Anna Jay was going to beat Jade Cargill after the way they built the Jade Cargill run. Now,
no offense,
I don't care for Jade Cargill. I don't think she should be the champion. The what's his name? Stokely
Hathaway.
Malcolm Bivens.
Yeah.
Malcolm
Bivens is such a better name.
Stokely, get out of here. So we get the Malcolm Bivens Stokely Hathaway debut. He is now, why? I don't know. I'm struggling to say it because it's so stupid.
Well, you said Malcolm Bivens.
Malcolm Bivens / Stokely Hathaway comes out to be Jade Cargill's new manager, I guess.
And what happens to Smart Mark Sterling? Is he just not with her anymore now?
He's with Tony Nese, I guess, officially, and that's that. So she has Stokely Hathaway as her new manager / representation. He came out, which was a little bit of a shock. But then we get the Athena debut.
I hate that. I mean, no offense to Mikey Ruckus, who does all the AEW music. They should have just kept her her actual Athena theme.
Yeah. Unless she didn't want to give that up, maybe she would have had to sign some kind of rights over on it. And
well, I mean, an actual band. That's their song. I forgot the name of the band.
But either way, her coming out, I was just like, one, wowed, because we had just talked to her at Warrior Wrestling. She had confirmed to us that we're getting this interview rescheduled. We're supposed to reach back out here. Actually,
Plush. That's the name of the band.
Oh, I got you. We're supposed to be reaching out to her this month to get it rescheduled.
Which I'll tell you guys the same thing. I'll tell you. I emailed her agent, rep, whatever. He got back to me and told me exactly what I didn't want to hear. He basically, I'll read the email. I'll give all you guys the scoop at the same time. He says,
I know where this is going.
He says, "Hi Alex, I will ask AEW PR to coordinate with Athena and yourself." So,
for those of you who don't know, it's not impossible. We've worked with it before and made it happen, but it is a way more difficult setting.
It's like pulling teeth to even get AEW PR to email you back. And I don't have them on speed dial or anything. Otherwise,
right.
I'd just call them. But nonetheless.
So, but we are still working. She promised us that we would make it happen, and when we were talking to her, it was very genuine. So I know.
Well, she went out of So to put it in context, in FanFest, we had a table, she had a table. Fans there going to table to table to see people. She came to our table.
Yeah.
Like, she went out of her way to come see us.
And just so y'all know, she had admitted that she actually sits and lurks in the background and watches sometimes. She was able to tell us some of the podcasts that she's chimed in on. So who knows? Maybe she's watching right now and can see all your comments and thoughts. So either way, we get her debut. That was the most exciting part of the whole entire match.
That was one of the most exciting parts of the pay-per-view, in my opinion.
Her coming out. They had already been teased on Twitter. And when kind of the way things had played out with her in general, we knew this was coming. I was just curious of when it was going to happen.
So whenever we were talking to her at FanFest, what she said kind of really hinted it was going to happen soon. She said something along the lines, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but she said, we will make this happen. I'm sorry it's taken so long, but she's like, I promise it will definitely be worth the wait. Whenever she said that, I'm just like.
And being told that we had to wait till mid-June to reach back out and set it up, I was like, yep, I know where this is headed. You don't tell me to wait a month and a half before I can even recontact again to set up. she genuinely, just so you guys know, she genuinely had a family emergency. Someone had surgery in her family that she wanted to be there for. So that is why it actually got canceled. There's no work or shoot here on that. But to be told we'd have to wait like 2 months almost before we could reschedule a new one, I was like, she signed a deal with somebody. I just didn't know.
Or is going to.
Yeah. So, but that was exciting. And I will caveat that by saying, or piggyback, I should say, by saying, if Athena does not win the TBS title off of Jade Cargill, I will, and hear me now, I will stop watching AEW.
That's a shoot.
And that is not a prediction. That is a promise. All right?
No,
that's my phrase.
Oh, fair enough.
I'm doing my own thing, all right?
Okay.
I'm like MJF. I'll take a little bit of it, but not all of it. I promise you, I will more than likely be done watching on a regular basis because Athena is what you're missing in the women's division. So the only way they would be able to redeem that for me is if she gets to go win the women's title right after it.
I would argue this is AEW's biggest women's signing to date. I mean, since inception.
I'm just going to be real with y'all. Athena, on paper, based off careers, based off what they've done, Athena is the best women's talent they have. Britt Baker is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad they have her. She's a huge help to the women's division. Thunder Rosa, great. Glad they have her. Huge help to the women's division. They have some decent names, but you have buried Ruby Soho when you could have capitalized on her. You have since then buried Toni Storm when you could have capitalized on her. If they do that to Athena, I'm telling you right now, I will probably stop watching on a regular basis. There are talents there that I enjoy, so I'll tune in maybe for a match here or there, but they will lose my interest altogether because this has happened time and time again, and their weakest division is their women's division. You just signed what I would consider to be probably the top free agent in the women's market that's out there right now.
I mean, one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, period, regardless of status.
Period. She's a veteran. She's able to do what needs to be done in the ring. She's good on the mic. She's fun. She's upbeat. She's a good face for your company. She can play a good heel for your company.
Yeah, she can. I was about ready to say she can do both.
I'm telling you, they better not mess this up.
The only way I could see this working out to where, I mean, obviously Athena's going to challenge for the TBS championship. The only way I can see it working out to where she loses to Jade, number one, it not be a burial. Like it could be like a roll up or something like that. But then you propel her to the actual AEW Women's Championship.
She would need to win the AEW's women's title right after that to redeem it for me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this was a terrible way to not only bring her in. One, I would never have brought Athena in on Jade Cargill, period. Even though they've been teased on Twitter and all this stuff and their little feud, I would not have brought her in that way. I would have had her come out during the Thunder Rosa Serena Deeb match to still make your claim here. You may not get to go there first, like CM Punk and other guys have done that, and their first feud wasn't the title match, though. I would have had her come out and make her claim to the top of the division and then have her first storyline be Jade as a step up and a build. But I would have if Jade's ever going to drop this belt, it's to Athena.
I will take it even a step further. I think Athena should win the TBS championship, then start a storyline with her and Thunder Rosa and eventually have a title for title match at, All Out or whatever the next pay-per-view is. Or, well, it wouldn't be All Out. It would be, let's see. I'm trying to think of AEW's pay-per-views. It would be, let's see, Revolution's in February, March time frame. We just had Double or Nothing. All Out is in the fall.
I'm pretty sure it's All Out.
No, All Out's probably they're probably gonna build All Out for Athena and Jade, I would think.
The next one would be Full Gear.
Full Gear, yeah. They'll probably. My thought is win the TBS championship at All Out, and then once Full Gear rolls around, title for title match.
I think they'd probably save something like that for Revolution. They'd probably do a longer build because those are kind of back to back almost.
Thomas Russell, it's like you're in my head, buddy.
But even then, if they don't do a title for title, that's when I would have Athena drop to like a Britt Baker who can keep the TBS title relevant It's actual title. Then you have Athena go after Thunder Rosa. Now you have this kind of feuds that have been built. So when Athena becomes women's champion, you can put Britt Baker back up against her at some point. And now we get that feud and continue to build on that. This is your chance right here to fix your women's division, to actually be believable, to be good, to be entertaining. And it's not just a Britt Baker show featuring, one or two other talents that people might enjoy. So I wanted to make sure I stated that they better not mess this up.
Agreed. Otherwise, no more All Elite Wrestling for Cole. House of Black defeats Death Triangle 15.5 minutes. I was pleasantly surprised by this match as far as like how good it was.
I felt the wrestling was guaranteed to be good with all the people that were in the match.
Well, okay, I should have prefaced by saying anytime you have a multi-man match like this, 6-man tag, 8-man tag, whatever, I'm skeptical that it'll,
right.
Just because there's so many tangibles involved, you're eventually going to have all 6 guys brawling at once. I thought it was very well, the match was good. The camera work was good as far as staying with, what you needed to see.
Catching the spots.
Yeah.
Yep. I enjoyed the match, but I have to mention this. Is anybody going to bring up the whole House of Black copying Alexa Bliss now? Or are we going to just overlook that and say that, Judgment Day was copied off of House of Black still? Everyone, oh my goodness. First off, how do I say this without being disrespectful?
The argument of somebody copying someone else is so asinine at this point. Wrestling has been around for, at least as it relates to gimmicks and storylines, it's been around since the 70s. You had guys that were in gimmicks and, characters and such. Like
it is that part's frustrating, but why? I'm just going to say it. Why Julia Hart? Like, out of all the people that she does, like, even with the face paint and the dark, she looks too friendly.
It's not for her.
Alexa Bliss, they had to do a lot to get her to that point. It was a hard sell for me on Alexa Bliss to even get her to be kind of intimidating and scary and all this stuff. You literally have characters like Abaddon on your roster that literally identically fit this crew that you've built in House of Black, and you take the cheerleader and make her the you literally stole the Alexa Bliss storyline to the T, down to the pigtails. I mean, like, literally. I just wanted to make sure we addressed.
Well, you can say that so and so stole from this era or whatever, but like, if you really want to go back in time to whenever this kind of type of storyline started, I mean, you can go back to Florida wrestling in the 70s whenever Kevin Sullivan did his whole shtick. Maybe even earlier than that. I honestly don't know. I was born in 1985, so I'm kind of just going off memory and what I know about the history of wrestling, for lack of a better word. But
and this is kind of where I'm at. Like, the House of Black stuff was really entertaining at first, and they've been in this storyline way too long, and now they feel really, really stale.
Very.
And I don't like that, because I really like Malachi Black and the whole dark character that he's created. I like Brody King with him. I'm not sold on the whole Buddy Matthews. The wrestling matches them, like the wrestling quality matches them, but he just doesn't have that dark character to me. So I still have struggled with him. But adding Julia Hart just really ruins the stable for me. It really brings it down a whole notch. Like, if you wanted her away from the Varsity Blondes and out of the cheerleader gimmick, cool, do it. But not like this. This is a stretch.
I think they need to eventually, turn on Buddy Matthews or something like that, even get rid of Julia Hart. They just need to have Malachi and Brody as a tag team. And
I would be okay with them bringing in a tag team to be with the House of Black that fits. Because Brody King could kind of be your muscle / mid-carder. Malachi Black would be your headliner. He would be your world champion-esque talent in the stable. And then I would look to get a tag team, maybe repackage that Bear Country group and make them darker. I think that would be something that could be easily done. You could look at bringing in the guys that were a part of the Ascension. They would fit the group easily, I feel like. I know AOP is out there. You know, maybe if you were to have them be more muscle, more henchman-like.
I mean, to be fair, though, Malachi Black and Brody King are a tag team on the Indies. I mean, they're PWG tag champions. So
I'm not saying, and they could still tag. I mean, you saw that in Inner Circle. Sammy and Jericho tagged all the time, and they had an established tag team. I don't think they need to go win the tag gold is my point, I guess.
No, I got you.
Is that they could still continue to do stuff, but I would be more apt to have them add an established tag team that fits the more darker role, if you will, of their team.
Next match, I was very underwhelmed and disappointed with this match. Adam Cole wins over Samoa Joe, 12 and a half minutes. This deserved more time. It deserved
a better story.
A better build of some kind. They should have started. If this was going to be your finals, you could have easily had this tournament wrapped up to where you maybe a month out from the pay-per-view, and you knew this was going to be your finals. This deserved a few week type build because, to my knowledge, this was the first time these two have actually had a match. Even though they are in NXT for a while briefly together, they're in Ring of Honor together. This was the first time these two have wrestled, and we got what we got, and I was disappointed.
One, there was no Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt.
Yeah.
Wish version Kali. We didn't get any of that interference whatsoever, which I thought was such a poor way to build. And I said it sarcastically. Like, you've been having them on TV every single week on Dynamite talking about Samoa Joe and, doing this and that, and then he's not even the one that interferes. You had Bobby Fish, of all people, come out and interfere, and I'm like, why? Why did that make sense? Or even if you wanted to have him on the card somewhere, since he technically wasn't, and have him appear somewhere, have him come out and unsuccessfully get involved, and then have Jay Lethal come out and be the one that causes the interference enough to have Joe lose. Adam Cole winning doesn't bother me.
The winners don't bother me. I was just disappointed with the match.
Bothered me. The winning didn't bother me, but the actual match itself, for their first time ever wrestling each other too, I'm like, this was kind of lackluster. And they gave him like very little time compared to other matches that I was like, why did this get more time and more of a focal point, if you will?
Ooh, Jeffrey's got a little scoop for us. Kind of a breaking news story, I guess. Morrissey gone from Impact.
Interesting.
This could be a conversation for another time, but I think a lot of people will just automatically think he's going to AEW. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to see
just because he had a burial on AEW once doesn't mean he's going there. And honestly, if you're looking at the climate of AEW, if I don't feel like I am a top tier talent, I would not want to go there right now. You have Keith Lee and a tag team. I'm
WWE would. I mean, he looks.
They
good.
liked him in WWE.
Yeah.
And he was getting to get a massive push before he got in that legal trouble that he got in. So maybe they'll be willing to give him a second chance. They liked him.
Yeah. We just alluded to this. Britt Baker gets the win over Ruby Soho in the women's final. This match went longer than Cole and Joe.
I had a problem with this match.
Do tell.
Again, you bury Ruby Soho. More and more and more and more. They would have been better off putting Toni Storm in this match and having her take a loss to Britt Baker, because at least she hasn't taken that many losses to Britt Baker. Ruby Soho has lost to Britt Baker every single time. She has not won the big match not once in AEW.
And we're not counting that Battle Royal she won.
That doesn't count. That was her debut.
Yeah.
You'd be really dumb to have her debut and lose. They have, to me, this has been one of the dumbest bookings of somebody who had a platform to build off the jump. Ruby Soho could have came in and been your top women's talent easily. She had the WWE platform to help kind of get her there. She was overlooked several times. Fans are behind her. She had a really good, they gave her good theme music and a kind of a character and a thing to build off of. and you fed her to Britt Baker over and over and over again. And now for a tournament that, I'm sorry, all respect to Owen Hart in the world, means absolutely nothing. This
Agreed.
tournament means absolutely nothing. It does
Agreed.
not do, unless Martha Hart had a hand-picked winner for both, like she was allowed to pick who gets to win. I don't understand why Britt Baker had to be the one to win this.
And why are they coming out with the belts? Like, what's the point? You're not going to defend the belt. I mean, it's like...
Hopefully it's one of those like Andre Giant things where eventually they just kind of get phased off TV after a little while.
I hope. I mean...
But I agree with you. But that's my thing is I'm just like, why feed Ruby Soho to her again in a tournament and in a setting that does not really have any major implications to it? Britt Baker doesn't need that belt and that win to be over. She's already over. She's always going to be over. I don't understand why they keep burying Ruby Soho. It is a mystery to me. She at this point in time, I don't think she's going to be able to recover. I think she's hit the same problem that she hit in WWE, is that they're never willing to capitalize on your big moment. And you're going to be sitting in catering here soon, or sitting on, an AEW standpoint, you're going to be sitting on Dark Elevation with a Dynamite match or a Rampage match here and there, because they won't put you over.
Yeah.
So I had an issue with this match, because if they wanted Britt Baker to win it, don't put Ruby Soho as the challenger. It could have been anybody else, and I would have been okay with it, but not Ruby.
Yeah, the belts are cool. I mean, they were a callback to the Stampede Wrestling Championship from the 70s, I believe. So the belts are cool, don't get me wrong, but I just couldn't get I couldn't get behind the
Sports Entertainer. They even brought in Rancid to play her theme music. When all big and bad, I know the Fozzy guitar players played for Britt Baker before, so to me that wasn't that big of a deal. But to have the whole band there and to do this big, they got to perform for like a minute and a half before Ruby even ever came out. I mind blown, absolutely mind blown on this one. That they would bury Ruby again.
The next match I have not actually gotten a chance to see, and I actually have to send a quick email, but American Top Team defeats Kazarian, Sammy, and Ty Conti, 12.5 minutes. Your thoughts?
I think I would have rather just seen Paige Van Zant fight Ty Conti. Like, honestly, the match itself was kind of boring, and it wasn't really, for me, it wasn't really Ethan Page or Scorpio Sky that really bored it for me. I think they're kind of been established. The whole team of like Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti and Frankie Kazarian just kind of seemed forced, and it kind of seemed thrown together for that match to happen. This would have been one of the, I told you before the show, this pay-per-view had way too many matches. It dragged on way too long. I'm trying to remember how many were on the card. I think there was like 14 matches on the card total, if I'm remembering correctly. Way too many matches. And there's like a whole like Twitter thread of people saying, I can't believe this is still going on. Like, so many matches. This is one of the matches that I would have said just didn't need to happen. It seemed forced. It seemed whatever. I'm not a very big fan of the whole Sammy Guevara, Ty Conti thing they're doing, where every time they do something good, they celebrate outside the ring and have a makeout session and, do all this stuff. Like, every once in a while, if that's the gimmick you want to have, that's cool. But literally almost after every offensive move, they did that. And I'm just like, and them turning on each other. Like, it was all really, really predictable. But I actually thought Paige Van Zant looked really good in the ring. I thought that she was believable, and I think that she actually has a good shot at being a decent competitor in the professional wrestling realm of things. So I would have much rather just seen Paige Van Zant versus Ty Conti if they wanted to have Paige on the card. I don't think we needed to add. If you wanted to be at ringside, it's fine. You could have put Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page at ringside with her to help kind of boost her and Same with Ty. You could have at least had Sammy at ringside. I don't think Frankie needed to be there. But if you wanted to have like that interference aspect to it, you could have had Frankie out there and him and Sammy arguing and, back and forth. But I felt like the tag match was too much. I would have rather have just done Paige Van Zant versus Ty Conti.
That would have made sense, too. I mean, you alluded to the fact that Van Zant actually looked halfway decent enough to where she probably could have had a singles match on her own. I mean, Jade Cargill has a championship, and she's doing singles matches on her own. I mean, if
Paige Van Zant looks better than Jade Cargill in the ring. I'm just being dead serious. Like, the only thing that Jade Cargill has for me that is her actual physique. Like, she has a very, very solid build, obviously. But outside of that,
man, we've been doing this recap for a while. I mean, it goes to show this card was way too long. Let's breeze through the last few. Kyle O'Reilly defeats Darby by pin. A little under 10 minutes.
Unnecessary
match. Yeah, I agree. Thunder Rosa retains over Serena Deeb. Almost 17 minutes long.
Too long.
Match wasn't bad.
It was all right, but it was too long.
Yeah,
too long.
Next match, Anarchy in the Arena. The Jericho Appreciation Society gets the win over Blackpool Combat Club. Little under 23 minutes.
Two complaints about this match. It was, to be fair, the overall concept of the match was not really that bad. It was more of a serious match. There were some good spots. Like, I don't want it to seem like I'm being a hater on the match. I personally, from someone who watched it from home, did not care for Jon Moxley's music playing through a majority of the match. I know that it was so Jericho could, break the speaker or whatever it was that was playing on that he did. But to me, it was more of a distraction from the viewer at home. I also would say that those that were there in live attendance probably ate it up because it added some extra value to a match that was all over the arena.
Probably meant to just feel like a bar fight where you got music playing.
And I think that was their goal. And so I think being there live, that probably would have made the match better. But for the person watching home, at least for me, I did not. It was a distraction for me. The other thing I struggled with is that whoever were running the cameras on this match or who was in charge of choosing which camera angle to be on, I should say, technically at the time, because that's more of what I'm talking about. We missed it was not an audio problem. It was planned because Jericho went up there and broke like the...
Oh, yeah, that was...
It was a planned spot.
I've not even watched the match, and I know it was planned.
But they missed spot after spot after spot that we were supposed to see from watching it at home. I can't tell you how many times where it was on. There was a spot that I remember. I think it was Brian Danielson and I want to say it was Jericho, but I might be wrong on that. They were in the ring, and there was something that was getting ready to happen. The camera switched to another spot where it just showed one of the 2.0 guys. I think it was not Angelo Parker. What's the other one's name? What's the other 2.0 guy's name?
I can't think of his name.
Matt something.
I don't
Mark
remember.
Something.
I know them by their old names.
The long black hair. It went to him just bleeding. And I was like, we just missed the spot because you wanted to show me some dude's forehead. And that happened a lot throughout the match for the people. And, right, sports entertainment. When you have that kind of match, it's hard to see all five people. I think that's my point, is Matt Menard, thank you, is that there was so much going on, and they decided to do so much crowd spots, like they were all throughout the arena, that it was hard to follow. I think that's why I actually thoroughly enjoyed the Stadium Stampede matches where they were like cinematic matches, because you got to see a segment of those two people fighting for a decent amount of time. They got their spots in, and then it went on to the next person. This one was so chaotic that you could never, without there being a plan, that I need to be at this angle at this time to see this thing. I need a cue person here to tell me to switch here at this point in time because they're getting ready to do this spot. Like, it's almost like they were always behind getting to the place they needed to be to catch the spot that they needed to catch.
Yeah.
And that was what was frustrating for the person that was sitting at home, is that I think we actually didn't get to appreciate the match that was put together. I think it probably was a better match than what we got to see at home because we were constantly missing the spots.
Whenever you have a multi-person tag match like this that's not going to be in the ring, and you know it's not going to be in the ring 90% of the time, if not more, you need multiple referees, multiple camera guys. You need multiple guys in the back taking a look at all the monitors and basically figuring out, okay, like, this is where the important action is right now. Go to here, or have a divider in your screen, like have 2 or 3 shots going on at once.
That would have been nice as well to at least go dual screen. So if you want to have bigger picture on it, at least go dual screen and show me 4 of the 10 guys in the match, whatever it was. And maybe even within those 2 screens, have more than one person in the same area. So if 2 guys from each team are fighting at the same time, have them in the same screenshot so I can kind of see what's happening. That was my only complaint, is that I felt like I missed out on what was happening a lot.
Agreed. 3-way tag match, AEW tag title match. Jurassic Express retains over Lee and Strickland and Team Taz. Good match. I don't know if I'd call it match of the night because I've not seen the Anarchy in the Arena match, but from what I saw, this actually would be my match of the night. But you seem bored by it. Just because it's predictable.
My thing is the wrestling can be good, but if it's a predictable finish, it really does take away a lot for me. And I felt like Jurassic Express winning here was the predictable choice. I don't think Team Taz should have won. I don't think they're over. But you put Swerve, you have 2 of the biggest talents that you just signed in a thrown together tag team doing nothing. And they actually are making it work. They have one of the coolest tag finishes I think I've seen in a while. I don't know if you've seen Swerve and Keith Lee's finish together, but it's a really cool finish. And I prefer them over Jurassic Express right now. I think Jurassic Express has gotten their run, and without having Christian turn on them, I don't know where you go from here with them. Who do you have them wrestle? Who do you have them lose to? And then what do you do with them afterwards?
Yeah.
I kind of just am take the belts off them and let them figure something else out for them.
Yeah. And then main event, CM Punk defeats Hangman Page, wins AEW World Championship. Too long. Went way too long. Predictable outcome. At no point did I think that Hangman Page was going to actually get a pinfall or submission win. At any point. Could there have been a count out or DQ finish and have him keep the belt? Sure, that was in the back of my mind, but my outcome has always been that Punk was going to actually win the belt here. So
right decision to put the belt on Punk.
Oh, agreed.
Honestly,
agreed.
And to my only complaint with that is that don't come into this business and tell me you're here to build up the younger guys and the younger talent and then go win the AEW title. Obviously, I'm rocking my CM Punk shirt today as I thought it was the right decision. So I'm here to say I think they made the right decision, but how they built him up to it kind of seemed, what's the word?
Contradictory, hypocritical.
And then to have that match be the match that did it, I was kind of like, man, the Bryan Danielson matches were better with Hangman Page. You had so many other matches that were better, and then this is the match that he loses, and it wasn't even really the best match.
I'll add, not only was that match sloppy, last night's Dynamite match was sloppy. I mean, it was
Dynamite for the most part was sloppy though.
Yeah. Let's move on to Warrior Wrestling. This will be a quicker recap, just because a lot of these matches / a lot of the talent maybe you guys watching aren't familiar with. We'll just kind of go in order. Warhorse defeats Adam Brooks.
It was a fun opener.
It was a fun match.
It was more fun than talent.
Warhorse interacts with the audience as kind of like an edgy face character.
Yeah.
So, it was a fun match. Next match, two local St. Louis talents who, I mean, I've talked to you about this. I wouldn't be surprised if one or both of these guys ends up in a major promotion. Camaro Jackson defeats Mike Outlaw.
Good match.
Yeah.
Lot of heavy chops in this match.
Man, yeah, there was. And by the way, guys, if you want to watch any of Warrior Wrestling's events, they're all on Fight TV that you can go back and watch the replays of. I think any of them. Mm-hmm. Next match, this was their New Japan Strong exhibition, whatever they called it. Alex Coughlin defeats Yuya Uemura. I think I pronounced
Uemura
it.
was the last name.
The spot in this match, though, where he has him in an elevated suplex position, holds him from literally sitting down to his knees and then standing up. Man,
listen, this match was good. This was one of the sleeper matches of the night where you didn't really know who was in it and what was going to happen. This match, and it was one of the longer matches of the night too. It was a really, really good match.
About 14 minutes. Yeah,
I was very impressed with this match.
Next match was their Lucha match. Dragonbane defeats Alpha Wolf. 18 minutes. Whoo, man.
So first off, let's address the bad part of this match.
Yeah, we'll get that out of the way.
There was I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it was
Alpha Wolf.
Alpha Wolf. They were trying to do a lot of the Lucha stuff. It was a very Lucha-esque.
Oh, no, even before that.
Type match.
Just the entrance. Him coming into the ring, you remember? He's coming.
Oh, he was checking the ropes.
Well, no. So Alpha Wolf was
tripping down the steps or
yeah,
whatever? Yeah.
Like, here we have this Lucha wrestler, this luchador, whatever, and
he almost fell down.
He about fell just coming up the steps. I'm like, that's not a confidence booster.
When he came in the ring, he was telling them that the ropes were a little loose.
Yeah.
But there was a spot in the match where Dragon Bane was like out on the ringside.
Out on the floor.
And this guy Alpha Wolf was going to go off the ropes, run and jump out of the ring, and he was going to do like a backflip.
A
Moonsault.
Over the top rope.
And the first time he did it, he like hit the rope. I mean, it looked bad. It was almost like he only had like a 1-inch vertical and he couldn't get over the rope. And so he tried to do it. They kind of messed it up. Then they literally set it right back up so
then
he could do it again.
He
tried it again and barely got over it.
Yeah.
The other guy, he killed it. He did like 2 other spots, the Dragon Bane.
Dragon Bane reminded me of Phoenix.
Yeah, he did some really cool spots. This was a really cool Lucha match to watch overall. They did a lot of heavy chops in this one too.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Next match. Oh, the chops. Yeah, that was like then they did like as the crowd, we did the whole shh thing. Yep. So I mean, they were loud.
And we had some C's going on. Alex like we should get a C chant going, and like literally 5 minutes later it started.
Next match was Casey Navarro getting the win over Mike Bennett. I mean all of these matches were good, fun, both.
Lots of crowd spots.
Yeah.
This one had a crowd spot where they actually like rolled into the chairs, and I mean they did some stuff in this match. And Casey Navarro really impressed me. I had not gotten to see him before. I've heard of him. Not really gotten to see him wrestle before. Really impressed me in this match.
Next was a triple threat. This was kind of a last-minute addition to kind of make good on the fact that Will Ospreay couldn't appear on the card. Lance Archer defeated Dante Leon and Myron Reed. Wasn't surprised with the outcome. I mean, if you have Lance Archer coming in, and he's not going to do the job if he's a last-minute addition to an indie card. No disrespect to Warrior Wrestling, but
so first off, I got to meet Lance during the Fan Fest, and that man is a scary looking dude. That is one of the most intimidating dudes I've ever come in contact with. He is just a frightening sight up close,
appearance wise, but like
super nice, chill dude.
Yeah,
he actually told us he'd love to do the podcast. But again, you guys heard about how we have to work with AEW on that kind of stuff. So not sure if it'll happen, but he was super chill. But he came out. But I'll actually say this. The Dante Leon in this match actually really impressed us. He had a lot of spots that he did that were really, really cool. Very, very good. Myron Reed is always a joy to watch.
We've had a chance to watch him before. He's in MLW. But yeah, this was the first time we got to see Dante Leone.
Very impressive.
Very, very impressed. Good in the ring. There was a spot where it looked like he legit hurt his knee or maybe his ankle. I don't remember which, but like he sold it really well. So next match, Deonna Purrazzo defeats Tootie Lynn. Another fun match. I think more to the, I don't want to say more importantly, but we got to talk to Deonna post show because she wasn't able to make the Fan Fest prior to the card, but she stuck around, talked to fans. We got to talk to her. Super nice. Again, same thing. She was,
she was adamant that she would do the show.
Yeah, even so much that she gave us a contact for Impact Wrestling's PR guy. And I've since emailed him. Haven't heard anything back yet, but granted, that was I didn't even send the email till Tuesday, I think. So, right. But the match itself was good. It was what you would expect.
Quick little roll up, I think, is how Deonna got the overall win, but it was fun.
The next match was super fun. Jeff Cobb gets the win over Jonah, formerly known as Bronson Reed. This match went 16 minutes, and it didn't feel like it.
It was probably, I'm not going to give it match of the night, but as far as overall stuff, it was up there. It had the entertainment aspect of it. There was some comedy in it. There were some good spots. There was a spot where Jeff Cobb, they were outside of the ring, and he was laying up against the ring post, and Jonah ran full force.
Full force. I mean,
and Cobb moved out of the way, and Jonah threw his entire body into a ring post. I mean, just.
And this wasn't like, I don't think there are any gimmicked ring posts in wrestling because you need a sturdy support to hold the ring. But these were definitely like real steel posts, like they're cornered edges. They weren't like rounded or anything. And he hit that full on, man. I mean,
just massive, giant guys.
And it proves that two big guys can have a decent match.
Massive.
You got to talk to both of them as well during FanFest. You want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so just so you guys know, anytime we do these kinds of events, I typically will take time to just go introduce and make a face-to-face contact with any of the talents that I have access to speak with. So during the FanFest, I actually went literally table from table to talk to them, to introduce us. One, we were the main sponsor for the evening. We were the presenting sponsor for the evening, and so there was already kind of a knowledge of who we were with the talents because they knew that we were the one promoting the event. So I got a chance to talk to a lot of them and found out at least the process of getting some of these guys on the show. If they're interested, would they do it? And so I talked to Mike Bennett, and he was very interested. I talked to Myron Reed, and I talked to Lance Archer. I talked to Jonah, who currently isn't signed with anybody, so he was very open to doing some stuff. Jeff Cobb obviously is signed to New Japan, so we have to go through New Japan to make that happen. But all of them, super nice, very professional guys. What cracked me up, though, about Jeff Cobb is that during FanFest, I think he sat at his table for a good solid 5 minutes, and then the rest of the time he was at Lance Archer's table just chatting with him, like almost the entire time.
Casey Navarro had a unique look. You want to?
Casey Navarro has this chain,
it's a Warrior Wrestling chain. At least had that logo on it.
Yeah, and I think he switches them out. I think he's able to put different things in there. But he had a chain. It's like a massive, almost Flavor Flav looking clock type chain on his wearing it, and he was wearing it during the FanFest, and I just kept looking over and I was like, I kind of want that chain, not to wear it, but just to have it,
Yeah. Jumping ahead a little bit too, we got to talk to Brian Cage for, a good 10 or 15 minutes afterwards.
Well, let's share on that conversation real quick, because first off, understand, guys, that once we get to build a relationship with people, they really do want to continue that relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And so he saw us. He knew exactly who we were, and he actually stuck around to chat with us for about 10, 15 minutes. And we talked about his ROH debut and he was like, man, I really wanted to tell you guys during the podcast that I was debuting and I just couldn't. He goes, just know that there also still some kind of plan for AEW that I can't, tell you what it is, but they still are telling me they have a plan for me on AEW at some point. And we talked about the Cinnabons and we told him if we would have known he was the surprise guest for the evening, we would have had some Cinnabons waiting for him. And he was asking us about pizza joints and was showing us all the restaurants he wrote down to go try, and just had a really good time chatting it up with him. And you want to talk about intimidating in person. That dude is massive, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I thought he looked massive on TV. That dude looks like he could flick you into the next room. I mean, just massive.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, couldn't be a more down-to-earth guy either. I mean,
super chill.
So, the next match, Athena retains the Warrior Wrestling Women's Championship over Janai Kai. Fun match, very entertaining. They had the whole Frank the Clown shtick, which if you're not familiar with Warrior Wrestling, Frank the Clown is kind of the... Who can I equate him to?
He's kind of the top heel.
Well,
it seems like that are in their like regularly based shows, but he kind of reminds me of... I don't know. He kind of actually gives me Miz vibes, but with a more gimmicky character. Like, he was more gimmick based than wrestling based for sure.
Yeah.
But it kind of reminded me of like the Miz because he has an entourage or a protege with him as well.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of like the Miz with Alex Riley.
Yeah.
That kind of setup, but with like this kind of clown gimmick as the gimmick.
It's like Doink the Clown meets Miz meets Happy Corbin a little bit.
It was a very serious heel character, but with the clown gimmick and whatnot. But he actually, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of enjoyable. I could see why he's there.
Oh yeah, it's fun. I mean, and like the protege guy, like he was interacting in a heel way with like some of the kids in the crowd,
right by us,
right in front of us. It was super hilarious.
Right by us. He kept telling the kids, isn't it past your bedtime? Shut up, kid. You're supposed to be rooting for Frank the Clown and Janae Kai. Which to kind of piggyback off that, I actually went and talked to Janae Kai during the Fan Fest, and she's like very reserved, very quiet, kind of shy,
total opposite of how she is in the ring.
She gets in the ring and she could creep you all the way out. She was very intense, very kind of dark, kind of vibe to her. But it was such a good match. The Frank the Clown stuff added, and I'll give props to Athena. She kept this Frank the Clown thing going during the Fan Fest, after the Fan Fest. Like, they were messing with her during the Fan Fest, and she chased him out of the room to try to get the flag he had, and just all this stuff because they're in like this little mini feud in Warrior Wrestling, and it was entertaining. But the match was so good.
It was very good.
And I got to see an Eclipse in person, which made my day. So, and it was a good one too. Like it was sold very well.
Oh yeah. Last match, the main event, was Davey Richards getting the win over Brian Cage, who was the mystery substitute for Will Ospreay. We predicted it. I mean, it was... I don't want to say it was super predictable. I mean, because it could have been anybody. I felt like Brian was the safe pick, though. It ended up being him. I was actually surprised by the result, though. If I would have known this was going to be the match, I probably would have picked Cage to win.
Which actually...
I actually still did, because I picked to be determined whenever we gave our predictions.
Knowing it wasn't the title match, I knew they'd probably give it to Davey since he's the hometown kind of hero type thing right now in St. Louis. But Brian Cage made sense because if you go and look at the Grand Rapids show,
yeah,
and in the a 6-man match for that belt? For
the War of Attrition match?
It's 6 men, right?
It's 8.
Oh, so there's an 8-man match with Will Ospreay, and none of the guys have been announced. But one of the...
Oh, no, they've been announced.
Oh, have they?
They have now.
Okay.
Because whenever I sent it to you, I sent it to Cole through a text message, and all it showed was Will Ospreay and then 7 other silhouettes. I was able, just based on the silhouettes, I was able to pick out...
At least 4.
Well, I told you who I thought who the other 7 were. I think I got 5 of the 7 right. because
One of them was definitely Brian Cage, though.
It wasn't. It wasn't Brian Cage.
Wasn't?
It was not Brian Cage, because Brian Cage is going up against Casey Navarro playing off. Oh,
that makes sense.
So it was going to be. Here, I'll just pull it up real quick because I want to go in order of how I talked to you about it. So it's Will Ospreay against Brian Pillman Jr., who I said, Lance Archer. The one that I thought was Brian Cage because it had like the spiky hair thing. It's actually Matt Cardona.
Oh.
But it probably may. Well, I shouldn't say probably. It may not be now because he tore his bicep. I don't know if you guys saw that. So he might have to pull out of that match. I got Jeff Cobb right. I got Davey Richards right. I got Jake something right. Then the other one looked like it was a bigger guy, and it's actually not because part of the silhouette that was blacked out was Jake something's left arm. So it looked like the guy looked bigger than what it is. It's actually Swerve.
Oh.
I thought it was going to be Jonah.
Now I'm really jealous that we're not going to that match.
Yeah, so it's a war of attrition match, which this is actually a really cool gimmick match, if you want to call it that. Like it's here. I'll just tell you the rules. And by the way, we're the sponsor once again for this match as well. We'll get some graphics going and have that ready for next week. But Warrior Wrestling 23 in Grand Rapids. It's on June the 18th. It's a Saturday. The main event is this War of Attrition match for the Warrior Wrestling Championship. So you've got 4-man teams. So 2 teams of 4 that are randomly assigned. So you basically have a 4-on-4 match, an 8-man tag. It starts 4-on-4, but then the losers are eliminated. So I'm assuming if one man gets pinned from one team, all 4 guys are eliminated.
Yep.
Then you've got the same concept, 2-on-2 randomly assigned from the winners. Same difference. You got a tag match. Once one guy from one team is pinned, they're eliminated. So then it's down to a 1-on-1 match.
I like it.
I do too. That's a super like. How is it? I've never seen this done before, and it's so simple, but it's like, how have we not seen that done before? I mean, it's just it's really neat.
That's really cool. But Brian Cage, it kind of made sense because he was already going to probably be on the Grand Rapids card ahead of time, which is why they called. They wanted to probably get somebody that they already had lined up for the following event. So
yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, I mean that match in itself, I mean, probably not going to go. It's in Grand Rapids. That I looked it up. It's like a 6-hour drive, 6.5-hour drive, 13-hour round trip.
I have connections.
If you want to go, you can. I probably won't. But it intrigues me enough to possibly watch it on Fight TV just for that match. Like the rest of the card's pretty good too. I mentioned Cage versus Navarro. You've got Chelsea Green is going up against Tootie Lynn. Athena is defending the Warrior Championship, Women's Championship against AQA, who's been on AEW before. So, I mean, it's going to be a good card, but nonetheless, it is almost 10:30 already, so we got to kind of move this along. Wrestler of the week, who you got?
I'm actually going to give it to Athena.
I am too.
With being in the match, there for the match, it was good. She retained. It was probably my favorite match of the night just because there was all different aspects to it. So I went with Athena.
Agreed. Athena gets mine as well, just from, I mean, the match itself at Warrior being really good, making her debut for AEW as well. And, I mean, couldn't have had a better week.
I'm biased because I got to be in the crowd for that one. Sorry.
Yeah, understood.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, guys, I just want to take a few moments to remind you guys you can check us out live just about every Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, and our Twitch channel as well. Just a few announcements, though, as far as our upcoming podcast dates, at least for the month of June. We do have to shuffle some things around, so we will be having our podcast next week on Tuesday. I'll have a little bit more information about that in just a second. It won't be a normal podcast. We will be having someone join us, which we're excited about. And then the following week, I believe it's Thursday as normal. The week after that, it's Thursday as normal. And then the last week of the month, it's Tuesday once again. So those dates real quick. So next week, Tuesday the 7th, will be our podcast for that week. The week after that, Thursday the 16th as normal. Thursday the 23rd as normal, and then the week after that will be live Tuesday the 28th instead of the 30th. So just keep that in mind. I'll keep you guys posted on our social media platforms as well about that. What else we got? Oh, we can talk about our interview coming up next week. I just mentioned that. So current NWA Women's Champion Camille will be joining us. We were able to get her back on the calendar. Joining us this upcoming Tuesday, June the 6th. So again, next week, our normal podcast will not be on Thursday. Actually, it's Tuesday, June the 7th. That should say the 7th, not the 6th. I apologize. So Tuesday, June 7th, actually, not the 6th. Not sure why it says the 6th, but it's actually the 7th. So Tuesday, June 7th. Keep that in mind. So I'm excited about that interview. I know she's got a match coming up for their NWA card, Always Ready. We'll have a lot to talk about there. Later on this month, we'll be having our Forbidden Door watch party or watch along Sunday, June 26th. The card starts at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. We will actually go live an hour prior to that. So we'll be going live at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Our Twitch channel only.
And well, as of last night, we got to see what our main event's going to be.
We did get to see that.
With Tanahashi versus CM Punk. So it's starting to look like it might be a good one.
Well, so I read another rumored match as well. Let's switch back real quick. Another rumored match I saw was Kazuchika Okada defending the IWGP Championship against Hangman Page. I think they could do better, but that's just me.
We shall see.
The other thing, guys, I wanted to mention, we are no longer active on our... So we do have a website, goingbroadwaypodcast.com. Our shop is no longer active on that website because we are now... We're on Pro Wrestling Tees. So you can get your GBP official merchandise on Pro Wrestling Tees. ProWrestlingTees.com/GoingBroadwayPodcast. Right now, we only have 4 of our SKUs up. However, they are our newest SKUs. The old school Ring of Honor logo, which I'm sporting one of those today. We both had some on this past Saturday during FanFest, but you can get those. They are $19.99 plus taxes and shipping for a T-shirt. No hoodies, though. Just T-shirts only for right now. More of our SKUs will be uploaded in the coming days, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Anytime they have sales on Pro Wrestling Tees, that applies to our shirts as well. For the most part, I know they have either AEW or New Japan exclusive sales only, but anytime they have their seasonal sales where it's like 20% off or 15% off or whatever, that does apply to our shirts as well. So I'll throw that back up again real quick. ProWrestlingTees.com/GoingBroadwayPodcast. Get your GBP official merchandise through Pro Wrestling Tees. As Cole would say, they are comfortable. They are fashionable.
I actually don't know if they're comfortable now. Now, I had a Pro Wrestling Tees Growing Broadway podcast shirt. So now you guys are going to have to test my theory here and go buy new Pro Wrestling Tees shirts to find out.
Well, they can be comfortable. You can get your basic thicker cotton shirt, or you can get your premium soft shirt.
Ooh,
for
select your style
for an extra $3.99. However, you can get youth T-shirts. You can get your ladies fitted soft T-shirt. You can get your soft tank top. You can get your long sleeved T-shirt. You can get a V-neck, or for you tall folk, you can get a tall soft style shirt as well.
Can I get a U-neck?
No.
All the way down. I want it to drape.
A tank top has a U-neck, but you can deal without the sleeves. No? Negative?
I want a U-neck with sleeves.
A U-neck with sleeves. We'll see if we can make that happen.
Just when they think they got the answers, I change the questions.
We'll take a few moments to address some fan mail, or answer some fan mail, I should say. We're not addressing anything.
We're addressing it.
Addressing the fan mail. I know David asked earlier in the chat. He said something along the lines of who does MJF go like? What's next for MJF?
I don't know if he will have like a specific person as a feud. This seems like one of those feuds where he might just kind of be against everybody. So if he has a match one week, it might be against so-and-so. The following week, it might be against someone different. And I could actually see him no-showing matches and different things like that just to kind of continue to sell this. So,
well, let's put it this way. I don't want it to be another, like, wrestler versus authority storyline. I don't want to see Tony Khan on TV.
I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's just going to be him, like you said, doing the things that it would take to get fired. So they would put him in like a really big match, right? Like it'd be like him versus Adam Cole or, just something massive, and then he no-shows it, and doesn't show up. So,
if you could change any result regarding a Double or Nothing match, which would you change? Let's do it this way. If you could only pick one. If you could only pick one.
It would be the Ruby Soho Britt Baker match. I would have Ruby. I would have Ruby win it.
If I could change the result only, because if I could change the structure, I would actually have Wardlow and MJF have a match. I wouldn't change the result,
right?
But if I could change the outcome of the match,
I feel like they got a lot of them right, but there was probably two or three that I could see how it would have been more beneficial to have the other person win.
I'm gonna flip the switch a little bit. Even though I predicted correctly, I probably would have had Samoa Joe win over Adam Cole.
I could agree with that. Again, for those two, it doesn't really hurt either of them if they lose or win, but you could have made an argument that Adam Cole's already got enough going on.
Yeah, but I would have also had, regardless of the outcome, I would have had him. I would have given them more time. I would have had him have a longer match. Let's see. Well, let's answer these two back to back. What do you think is next for CM Punk as far as the feud? What do you think is next as far as Wardlow in terms of a feud?
So CM Punk, obviously, they're going to be building towards Forbidden Door in the short term. He's not going to lose to Tanahashi.
Or at least not. Well, I don't even know if the title's on the line.
If the title's on the line, then maybe, but I'd still doubt it. I think that CM Punk will get the W no matter what.
I would think.
So as far as within AEW, who's his next competitor? Oh, you're going to have to be willing to feed somebody to him. A few. Like, it's going to probably be 4 or 5 people before they let him drop. Man.
As goofy as this sounds, I'm not saying it'd be the next one. As goofy as this sounds, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a CM Punk defending the AEW World Championship against Sting.
I could see like a one-off match, but if we're talking feud,
no,
I don't see the feud there.
Well, I wouldn't see it being a long drawn out feud, but I could see it in terms of maybe a 3-week build to a main event Dynamite match or something, like it being one of their special Dynamite things that they have every so often. Maybe even like a Battle of the Belts kind of deal, something like that.
If you're wanting viewership, it's gonna have to be somebody who gets viewership. It's gonna have to be your Bryan Danielson. It's gonna have to be your Jon Moxley. One of those two from that faction. I could see Chris Jericho, just because they'd get their draw. The promo thing for me between Jericho and Punk would be where it gets interesting, especially because it looks like they're going to be keeping FTR around with CM Punk, at least as some kind of an alliance, if you will. So those are just some of the names that kind of initially stand out. I don't know if there's anybody on the roster that I'm just like, yeah, that needs to happen, and they can also take the loss. I don't think it's going to be Adam Cole right away. I don't think it's Kenny Omega returning or anything like that.
No.
I actually would probably be okay with Miro.
That's who I was going to say.
Although, again, I don't want to see him get buried once again. But Brian Cage, maybe, if they're going to bring him back to do something, maybe it's Brian Cage. I don't know. There's not many that I'm like, I really want to see them get buried right now.
Yeah. So as far as Wardlow,
I don't know what they do with him. I'm just going to be real. Like, the MJF stuff was entertaining because of MJF. Is Wardlow entertaining alone? I feel like people got behind him because it was the MJF stuff.
I think it'll be another Goldberg type scenario where people will chant his name coming out. He'll kind of get the he'll get the reaction, but if from a viewer's on like from a TV viewership standpoint, I agree. I fear that it's going to be not lackluster, but it's just going to be like
the problem that you have in AEW right now is you have a lot of talented bigger names, and I don't know if Wardlow is bigger than what they have. You know, why would you give Wardlow that spot when you're going to get a bigger pop out of some of the other talents that are available? If it were me, I would get Wardlow set up, have him continue to go on dominant runs just on TV, and eventually have him set up to win the TNT title. Obviously, I think Scorpio Sky needs to hold it for a while, but I would set him up to eventually be the next TNT champion so he can kind of build off that maybe.
Okay.
But the timing seems weird right now.
Who is the rudest wrestler you've ever met?
The rudest?
I don't know if I've ever met a rude wrestler. I mean, nobody that was a downright jerk or anything. I mean, just because someone, you know, kind of like if we've asked someone to, you know, if they wanted to come on the podcast with us just because they were, you know, were maybe sketchy about it or say no or whatever, that doesn't mean they're rude.
Right.
I don't know if I've ever met
I
someone
don't
that's
think
rude.
I can say they were like rude. Like downright just mind-blowing rude.
I can't think of one either.
There's people that play into their gimmicks, but like even then,
yeah. I can't think of one either.
I'm trying to think of if I could, like, literally if I could name anybody that was just like even a little standoffish. But honestly, the reception's been pretty good.
Yeah. For time's sake, let's move on to our predictions. We're running short on time, and I have a call I have to be on in about 20 minutes, which I just found out about. So let's go through our in your house predictions and then Hell in a Cell predictions. So we'll kind of breeze through these. So in no particular order, in your house predictions, we have a 6-man tag match: Tony D'Angelo, Channing Lorenzo, and Troy Donovan versus Legado del Fantasma.
I'm going with Tony D'Angelo based off the fact that Santos already got a win there. Okay. And if you're trying to build up the younger talent, it's got to be Tony.
I'm going to go with him as well. NXT Women's Tag Title match: Toxic Attraction against Katana Chance and Kaden Carter.
Although, I think it's a long shot. I'm going with Katana, even though I hate that name. I wish they would have just let her stick with the
why didn't they
Casey Catanzaro thing. But
are these two supposed to be like partiers now or something?
I don't know. They kind of just let them do whatever. What's the other one's name? Why am I blanking on her name right now? Not Katana, the other one. Help me out. What's her name? You just said it. Are you trying to find it?
Yeah, hold on. Katana Chance and Kaden Carter.
Kaden Carter, thank you. I've always liked them as a tag team, and they've always never capitalized on them being the women's tag team champions. So I'm going to say they win selfishly, even though I think it's a long shot. So I'm going with Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro / Katana, whatever you want to call her.
Just 1 second here. Let's see.
Who are you going with?
I'm sorry. I'm going with Toxic Attraction, actually. I mean, disclaimer, I don't watch NXT 2.0 enough to really... I'll still give my predictions, but this is just based on the the loose knowledge I guess I have of 2.0 at the moment.
They are probably the favorites to win, if I had to guess.
Okay. Let's just do the men's tag title match. We have Pretty Deadly against the Creed brothers. For the love, I hope the Creed brothers win this championship match, because if not, what else are you doing with them?
So this is what makes me nervous. I feel like they're going to be one of those tag teams that never win the tag belts in NXT and then get called up. Because the way they're teasing things with the Roderick Strong stuff, somebody had said something on one of the vignettes between Ivy Nile and whoever she wrestled that night, that if they lose, basically they're going to have to start getting new members to Diamond Mine and all this stuff. So it's making me think that the Creed brothers are on their way out of the Diamond Mine stable and maybe just going to get called straight up to the main roster to be part of the tag division there. I think they're really good. If it were me, I would have them win in spite of Diamond Mine getting involved and then breaking away from Diamond Mine anyway and just being the Creed brothers. And then they can feud with Diamond Mine for a while. But I'm going to say the Creed brothers win. I hope. They just put them on Pretty Deadly, which is what makes me nervous. But I'm going to say the Creed brothers win. Should have won a long time ago. But
Agreed. NXT North American Championship match, Cameron Grimes defending against Carmelo Hayes, former champion.
I think Carmelo Hayes needs to be in the title, like the main title picture. So I'm going to say Cameron Grimes retains.
So wait,
I think Carmelo Hayes needs to be in the main title picture.
I thought you said Cameron Grimes needs to be in the main title picture. That's why I was
he
confused.
could be, but I think Carmelo Hayes needs to be there. Sorry if I misspoke.
Okay.
So I'm going to say Cameron Grimes gets the win so Carmelo Hayes can move on.
I'll agree with the prediction. I don't know enough to, if Carmelo Hayes is going to be in the main title picture, but
maybe not right away, but you got to get him out of the North American.
Yeah. Let's see. NXT Women's Championship match: Mandy Rose defending against Wendy Chu. Gosh, this is really a match,
and I don't think it's an easy prediction.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go again with what limited knowledge I have. I'm just gonna say Mandy Rose.
There's a part of me that thinks that Mandy Rose and Toxic Attraction is getting ready to get called up. The women's division in the Raw SmackDown arena is very scarce, it feels like. And when you have your women's tag champs walk out on you and you still haven't been able to figure out how you're going to select new women's tag champs, to me, it's the perfect time to bring Toxic Attraction up to save the day and just have them win the main women's tag titles with Mandy Rose kind of leading them. You can throw Mandy Rose into any women's title bout.
That's a good point as far as the Raw, SmackDown / main roster women's tag championship, because what's happening with that now?
They've scrapped the idea twice now on how they were going to pick a new champion.
Well, what I've read is that they're going to have a tournament. Then it was dead in the water.
Yep.
Then it's not dead in the water. They've just not revealed, to like Meltzer and those guys that what they're going to do. Then I've also read since that it's dead in the water. So it's like,
if it were me, I would have Toxic Attraction lose everything. I don't know if Wendy Chu's the person to beat Mandy Rose, so just hear me out. But I would take everything off of Toxic Attraction, move them all back up to the main roster, back, obviously speaking about Mandy Rose, having Toxic Attraction win the tag belts, and then again, you can insert Mandy Rose into whatever title picture you want. You can put her against Ronda Rousey. You can put her against Bianca Belair. It really doesn't matter. She would be a good women's heel right now that's fresh instead of repeating things that we've already seen. But ultimately, I am going to say Mandy Rose retains.
I mean, I'm looking at pictures of like her prior character gimmick, whatever, as Karen Q. She looks legit. Why did they?
And she played the dark character too during the what was that? Xia Li,
that Mei Ying or
whatever.
That's right.
If they have her win and drop this "I go to sleep at random times" character thing that she does, she might actually
so
be
silly.
She might be fine.
Yeah.
But I'm ultimately going to say Mandy Rose gets the win.
Okay. And then Braun Breaker against Joe Gacy, NXT Championship.
Joe Gacy's already lost once.
Mm-hmm.
The storyline's been kept getting built and built and built. Braun Breaker is probably going to hit his ceiling in the sense of if he loses it, you have nothing else to do with him. There's a part of me that thinks that he loses here and gets called up to the main roster.
It wouldn't be a bad thing for him. I'll say Braun Breaker gets the win here. He'll stay on NXT for a little bit longer, but I could see him dropping it to someone like Carmelo Hayes or Cameron Grimes and then
getting the call up. They're really big on Joe Gacy though.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the same feeling about Joe Gacy too. If you don't have him win here, what do you do with him?
Yeah.
And so I'm actually going to do a bold prediction, and I'm going to say Joe Gacy gets the win, and Braun Breaker will probably get called up to some degree into the main roster.
All right. Moving on to our Hell in a Cell prediction.
Raw's Hell in a Cell. Because it's literally,
Yeah.
I think there's one SmackDown match total on the entire pay-per-view currently.
All right. So in no particular order, the singles match, Ezekiel versus KO. We're going to have to breeze through these kind of fast.
Who cares? I'm gonna say Ezekiel because I don't see how you could do more with him if you have him lose to Kevin Owens.
I agree on that one. We have a 2-on-1 handicap match. Lashley against Omos and MVP.
Lashley got the win already at Mania,
But then Omos got the win at Backlash.
but then Lashley got the win in the cage match. I'm gonna say Omos and MVP win here.
I'm going to agree with you. 6-person tag match. We've got the Judgment Day, Edge, Priest, and Ripley against Liv Morgan, AJ Styles, and Finn Balor.
I'm gonna say that the knockoff Bullet Club gets the win here
Really?
because Judgment Day's already won like every match thus far. So I think it's going to be like a catch them by surprise type win. Like it's not going to be this like just hands and feet. They were just better than them. The only way that Judgment Day gets the win here is if they debut another member.
That's what I was going after. So I think that happens, and I think that's how Judgment Day gets the win here. I think we'll see a 4th person. Don't know if it'll be Ciampa, but Edge has been teasing heavily on his Twitter page, like day after day after day, just posting a picture just
Of other people.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Corey Graves.
But yeah. But also just to be different, because we've agreed on the first two, I'm going to say Judgment Day wins here. We have the Raw Women's Championship match, Bianca defending against Asuka and Becky Lynch.
I don't see why you would have Bianca drop this quick.
I agree.
I don't know who takes the pin here. It might be one of those things where, Becky, hits Asuka to, it looks like she's going to pin Asuka or vice versa. Asuka hits Becky and then Bianca sneaks in and gets it. I don't know, but I don't see why you would put it back on Becky or Asuka right now at this point in time. So I'm going to say Bianca retains.
I am as well. United States title match. We get a mid-card title match on a pay-per-view. How about that?
Who's the champ again?
Exactly. Theory defending against Mustafa Ali.
I don't see Theory dropping, even though he should. Because I am not sold on him, and I think Ali deserves better. I don't see him dropping to Mustafa Ali.
I agree.
I'm going to say Theory gets the win.
And lastly, Hell in a Cell match. Cody against Seth Rollins.
Interesting that there's not a women's Hell in a Cell match yet, at least. Yeah. We still have SmackDown, and there's no match for Ronda Rousey yet, so that could change. But
this one's not cut and dry because Cody's won the first two. Do you really have him win 3 in a row over Seth? I mean, it seems like a foregone conclusion that eventually Cody's going to be the challenger for the title. Probably not soon.
I think he's a big candidate to win the Money in the Bank, so it's always there.
Yeah.
For whenever they need to do it. So if they need to shift on a dime, they have Cody literally waiting in the wings for whenever it's needed.
Yeah.
But probably the big plan would be for him to do it at Mania next year. With that being said, because it's a Hell in a Cell match, it's not just like a clean win over Cody if Seth gets it. Like, there could be a lot of dirty things that could take place that cause Cody to lose.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Seth Rollins gets the win here.
I am also. I don't think you can have Seth take 3 consecutive losses. I mean, albeit he looked good in the first 2, but you can look good all day long, and you take 3 consecutive losses on a pay-per-view to the same guy, doesn't do much for your stock, so to speak.
There have been the rumors about the Bray Wyatt stuff, too. I don't know if we'll see that happen. I'm not convinced he's coming back, but regardless, that could play a role into it as well.
Yep. Unfortunately, it is about that time. Cole, any final thoughts?
Guys, as always, thank you for watching the greatest wrestling podcast ever. We do sincerely appreciate it. Don't forget, we are now on Pro Wrestling Tees, so you can go get the new design sent right to your doorstep. And you apparently can select many different versions of what style and material you would like your shirt to be. So make sure you go check this out and stay tuned as we get all of our prior designs back up, and you'll want to check those out if you haven't as well. I think they just did a percentage, like a deal off too, so you might be able to still jump in on the 20% off deal that they had going on right now. Also, this Tuesday, we do have Camille with us, NWA Women's Champion.
Tuesday the 7th, not the 6th.
Tuesday the 7th. So make sure you get your questions in for her, as we'll be interviewing her this coming Tuesday. Don't forget that the month of June is a little sporadic, so be paying attention to all of our social medias to be reminded on what day our podcasts are happening and at what time. So other than that, guys, I'll leave you with your favorite thing in the entire world.
Guys, thanks for joining us today. Remember, next Tuesday we'll be live with Camille. See ya!
This podcast was a presentation of LightUpMedia.fm.